Got it.
All right. So here I am with Matt Woodworth, as friends call him Woody. I'm training myself now, Woody. And I'm here with Michael as well from Mr. Affordable Apartments. And we just did some introductions, which I didn't record. And we're going to talk about Lasqueti Island. And I think I told you, Woody, that I went out to visit Michael. He lives in Duncan, BC, where I think there's about 800 or 850 apartments that will be under construction that Michael's developing with his team. And Michael's also a land developer, and he's got a skill, Woody, that's rare. I mean, I have it to some degree as well. I'm good at picking up land and buildings that are, I think, overlooked. Maybe is a good word to put it, a good way to put it. But Michael also is amazing, and I bought the two sites there. One is site 16 and the other site 6, without actually ever walking the property. I have never done that before, but that's the level of confidence I have that Michael knows what he's doing. I've never done that before, so this was a first. And so Lasqueti Island is. It takes, I think, about an hour, Michael, to get there on the ferry from Duncan, or from
French Creek. It goes, yeah, it's an hour.
It's about an hour, so it takes about an hour to get there, and it's just a passenger ferry, Woody. That's all it is. It doesn't take any vehicles. So people bring their bikes, their electric bikes. I guess they might even bring their small motorcycles, but they don't bring their cars. That's a separate barge that goes to Lasqueti if you want to bring a car to the island. This is it's in the Georgia Strait, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's beyond description. And here is I think it's called False Bay.
Yep.
It's called False Bay. And so this is where you come in on the ferry. You dock here. And what I found, Woody, is the dock goes up and down with the tide. So we came in at low tide. So I thought, oh my God, this is awkward. You're going up at a really steep angle. But apparently, if you come in at high tide, it's a little easier to do it. Lasqueti Island is the size of Manhattan, but it's got like 700 people on it. I don't know what Manhattan's population is. It's probably 1 million people, or maybe it's more. But
it's over 10 million, Bruce.
Okay, well, it's bigger than I thought. But so we call it, or Michael called it, and I like the name Sila. If you can see it right here, Safe Island.
Land Alliance.
Safe Island Land Alliance. Sila. Safe Island Land Alliance. You should be doing this presentation. I'm screwing it up. So here's False Bay, and we timed it using in Michael's pickup truck. It takes about I think about 5 or 6 minutes to get from here to the sites that I like. At Safe Island. And the reason I think it's called Safe Island, there's a lot of thinking that's gone into this by Michael, and I really like it. One, the elevation of the sites that I'm going to show you are about 420 feet above sea level. So if there's going to be a tsunami, on one side you're protected by Vancouver Island, on the other side you're protected by an entire a continent, and you're at over 400 feet of elevation, so it's very, very, very safe. It's got lots of wood, so big trees, so you've got any amount of firewood and energy from firewood if you want it. Lots of sunshine and solar power. The other thing about it, Woody, is it is off-grid, so there's no BC Hydro here. The roads are not paved, so there's, property taxes are very low, and people on the island like it that way. And I'm going to tell you that when I first talked to my wife about Lasqueti, when I talked to Dawn about it, she was not very keen. She said, that island is for hippies. And there was a book, I think, in the 70s where you had like people on Lasqueti, with sitars and probably smoking weed or whatever they do. And it was kind of that. But Michael tells me, and I saw it for myself, there's a higher percentage of engineers living on Lasqueti than anywhere else in BC. So Correct. It's a very educated population, and it's people who want to have a place to go that's safe, where children can walk to school or walk to their friends without concern, and it's a very safe place. All right, so that's enough of that.
Thank you.
So I had to amend this when I first got to know about Lasqueti. What I was told, or what I thought I heard, was you could build 2 homes, or 1 home and 5 or 6 bunkies, but that's not actually the legal limit. It's 2 homes or 5 or 6 bunkies or yurts. So you have an either or. Having said that,
let me step in, Bruce. Let me step in, Bruce.
absolutely.
And I got clarification just yesterday. If you take of your 2 permanent dwellings, you take away 1 of them, you're allowed a dwelling and 6 non-permanent sites.
Well, now that is a much better. I was, I mean,
Yep.
thank you for that. I mean, I'm glad you did this. I just got out of the slideshow just because I'm going to change that. So I want to make sure I get it right now. Each 10-acre site allows development of 2 homes or 1 home plus. Oops, oh, sorry. Oh my God, I'm getting worse. Plus 6 non-permanent structures, like,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
6 non-permanent structures like bunkies or yurts. Oh, that is really great.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, now you just made my day, and you'll see why in a minute, Woody. Just give me a second here. I just want to copy that because I think I repeated it down here.
While you're doing that, Woody, the real magic is that when I was vetting this years ago, I spoke to the head of Islands Trust, which is the group that is covering all 450 Gulf Islands. And they said, we have never sent a building inspector to Lasqueti. I went, really? That's amazing. How long have you been there? She said, just over 20 years. So and I said, well, why do you even have it? When would you send a building? And said, unless somebody builds over on someone else's property and we have to get involved, we have no interest in going there.
Excellent.
It's fantastic. So listen, for somebody who's not yet burned out, but getting close to being burned out, dealing with planners and planning systems in the States and in Canada, the fact that no building permits are required is fantastic. Now, the reason the Island Trust doesn't require building permits is, Woody, they don't want to take responsibility for your building. So if you build something that falls down on your head, you know what?
It's on you.
It's on you.
Literally.
Yeah.
On your head.
Yeah, thanks. I missed that. So no building permits required. You can grow your own food, create your own farm or pharmacy, produce your own free solar and wood energy, and live independently. All right, now I've gone through this. Now, some of the sites have been priced at $325 and $295, and there's demand out there. But I did confirm with Michael before we started this that if you wanted one of the sites, you and Michelle, he would sell you one site for $225,000, and that's in Canadian pesos, not US dollars.
Okay, good.
All right, so there you go.
Yep.
This is a picture of me on Lasqueti, and this is a friend of mine who bought one of the sites as well, right next to me. So I'm pointing at site 16. This is Ruben Ugarte, who's a wonderful friend of mine, and Ruben bought site 17, and the one that I think you and Michelle probably should buy is site 15 next to ours, and I'll show you why in a minute. Of course, that's up to you.
Okay.
And just so you know, I don't get anything out of this. I coach Michael and I coach you. I'm not a realtor in this case. Okay, so I'm not making a commission. Although if Michael wanted to give me a commission, I suppose I wouldn't turn him away. But I do not expect that. Okay, Woody, that's important for you to know. So there's no.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
I don't think there's any potential for conflict of interest here. And what I'm pointing at here is one of the things that we found on site 16, you can see it on the right-hand side of my screen, is this beautiful waterhole. So I'm going to call my part of heaven Waterhole Ranch. So my 10-acre site is going to be called Waterhole Ranch. I like that name. So these are just some pictures I took. This is Michael getting onto the ferry. This is the ferry here. This is us on the Georgia Strait. And what's incredible is, you know, it can be 24, 25 degrees and sunny, and you can still see snow on the mountains. It's beautiful. I mean, BC is fantastic. So we landed, and I just took this picture of False Bay. Michael tells me that there are no constables stationed on the island. So if you need any police help, you know, you're calling from a 250 number. So they're probably coming from somewhere else. There is a volunteer fire department, I think, on Lasqueti.
Yeah, and they're amazing. Like, they know where every drop of water is, and they put them out. Like, I'd hear, you know, you're at the pub and they'd say, "Oh, there was a fire yesterday." What? Didn't see or hear. Oh yeah, it was, you know, out in no time. So they'll even put from one truck to another with the thing. So, and it's the same with police. There's no police needed 99.999% of the time, because everybody just knows that they don't want a police presence there. So, you know, I mean, one of my neighbors has been there 25 years, the other one 45 years, and they have never put a lock on their house.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. I have some rural property. I don't lock it. I mean, if teenagers want to get in, you know, go ahead. Don't break my window. Don't break my door. Just walk in.
Yeah. No, but like I have a $3,300 Honda generator that's been there for years, just sitting there.
Yeah.
Nobody
No,
nobody ever takes anything. It's awesome. I leave keys in the car.
Yeah. No, I saw that. So this on the right-hand side, Woody, is the hotel, and there's a pub there as well, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's a great meeting spot, and
Yeah.
I mean, just meeting the cast of characters that live there is entertainment enough, better than any reality TV show they've ever made.
I hate reality TV shows. This is
So
much
do
better.
I, but you can just imagine,
I
you know,
hear you.
this is real, not
Yeah.
scripted.
Then here is the general store and bakery, which you can see there's Michael heading to get something to eat. My wife is following him. There's some picnic tables there, and you can just get a sense of what a beautiful place it is.
Yeah, I'm sensing the vibe. It seems, wow, very, very cool.
So this is Ruben and his wife, Mary Lou. These are, they own now site 17 next to me. There's Michael, of course. There's my wife, Dawn. And then here we are inside the general store. These are just pictures of Ruben and Mary Lou in the general store. Of course, you can get a Frisbee there, which is important. And then Michael showed me his place on Lasqueti. One of the important things is that the area is served by SpaceX. It's not called SpaceX. What's it called?
Starlink is
Starlink.
Elon Musk's satellite thing. Yeah, just a couple of months ago they started covering the Lasqueti area.
So for somebody like me,
on the Starlink front, sorry, just to quickly ask a question, is that considered what would be a high-speed internet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's two other forms of internet. There's your cell service, which about half of Safe Island and Site 15 has cell service, which is rare on Lasqueti, right? Okay. Cell service is not good on Lasqueti, but luckily Site 15 and 16 have cell service. So you can get your internet that way, and there is a local internet provider. I mean, it's slow compared to Starlink. Starlink is, you know, 11 or 12 times faster.
Yeah. So Starlink, you know, we have Xplornet on some of our rural properties, and Starlink outperforms at Woody by, you know, just a huge. I mean, there's just night and day. So Starlink is probably just as good as what I'm getting from Rogers in my house.
Perfect. Yeah, I was thinking in the context of tech packages that you've been talking about, Bruce. So that would be very good.
Oh yeah, no, we have to have Wi-Fi because I mean, as a coach, I need good Wi-Fi. I'm planning to spend, you know, anywhere from 1 to 3 months a year on the Lasqueti, and I need Wi-Fi to do this. And so these are, you know, typically what you do is you store rainwater. And you store it, you know, like this, you know, at an elevation so that it's fed by gravity to your home and to your shower and everything else you need. And there are homes on the island that range from, you know, a few $100,000 to a few $1 million. So there's some rich dudes on the island too. This is then I think, Michael and Ellie's cabin. I think it's 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. I was in it with, there's my wife and there's Michael again. And it's just, look at the view off of Michael's, balcony to, I don't know, what is the mountain range that we're seeing here?
That's Mount Arrowsmith on Vancouver Island, and that's the view from 15 and 16. Right, cut down a few more trees because when we got this place, there was no ocean view. You couldn't see Vancouver Island. We took down 16 trees, and that's the view we got. I mean, you'd have to zoom in to really appreciate it with the lens that this one was taken, because you're just watching the ocean.
Nice.
So this is the plan here on the right-hand side of the screen. So the one that I purchased is site 16. The one that Ruben purchased is site 17, and the one that I think they're almost all sold, Woody. But this one is still. I mean, Michael didn't sell it. I asked him not to sell it until we at least had a chance to talk. And what I was thinking, and certainly Ruben is in agreement, and if you and Michelle bought this one, we would sort of develop these facilities together. In other words, we wouldn't necessarily repeat every sort of dimension. And I'll show you what I mean. This is a typical Bruce Firestone work of art on the left-hand side of the screen. You can't possibly make any sense out of it, but this is this is a sketch that Ruben and I worked on. So if you can watch my cursor, here is site 16, here is site 17. So that's Ruben and that's Bruce. And the idea would be to build a modular home. You would not build a stick-built home, in my opinion, on Lasqueti Island. You would just bring in a kit and erect it, because to do stick-built would be very expensive and time-consuming. I'm not interested in that. So my plan is to build a modular home here with probably 4 bedrooms in it and a full basement. The basement will probably have another 2 bedrooms in it, so it might be a 6-bedroom house. And I would like to get a design that allows me to add a 2-bedroom Lockoff suite. And the reason I want a 2-bedroom Lockoff suite is I plan to have a site manager live on the property, right? And that's what I did with Blue Heron Storage and other businesses that I've been involved with. Typically you find a retired couple, they pay rent for that, and then you pay them some money to just keep an eye on the place. It really works well. And then we heard today, just a few minutes ago, from Michael that my plan was to build 1 home and hopefully 5 or 6 bunkies. And now I find out I can do that, which is even better. So 1 home with probably 6 bedrooms, 1 Lockoff suite with another 2 bedrooms, and then 5 bunkies and a workshop. And what I'm planning to do is, when I'm not there, I'm going to Airbnb it. But I'm not going to Airbnb it like you would, I don't know, in downtown Toronto, where somebody can stay for 3 nights. That I have no interest in doing that. What I'm planning to do, and I think Ruben will follow as well, and maybe you and Michelle as well, is that my plan is to rent it for not less than a month at a time. So if somebody, if there's a tech company in British Columbia and they want to put a group, somewhere quiet where they can focus in on a tech development, a tech product. We just had for some Airbnbs that we own in Belleville, we just had exactly that, a group from Toronto who wants to put some people into Belleville, which is a quiet town compared to Toronto, for 2.5 months. They're going to pay us $18,000 a month for the space, and they're going to be there for 2.5 months. And so I have no interest in running a hotel. It's more of a medium-term rental. The other thing that I think I've mentioned to you, Matt, and I certainly mentioned it to Michael, is that the clients of mine who run 400 Airbnbs in the Caribbean, centered on Curacao, are noticing that the demand more and more is for large groups, so that Woody, you and your wife are traveling, and you travel with your kids, and you have your friends and their kids, and families are traveling together. And frankly, I like that idea. So there you go. And if somebody says, look, Bruce, I only want this thing, now it'll be able to sleep 20 people or more. If somebody says, look, I only need it for 2 weeks, I'm going to say, fine, rent it for the month. And if you can't use the other 2 weeks, give it to your brother. right? Give it to your employees. I mean, give it to somebody else. But I am not interested in weekly bookings or 3 days or 2 nights or a long weekend. That's too much. So the other thing I wanted to do, because I've been studying Airbnb very carefully, the other thing I wanted to do was to introduce some kind of differentiated value. There's an Airbnb that's one of the most famous Airbnbs in the States called the Big Potato. It is actually a 3.5 ton potato. I mean, it's made out of concrete, but it looks like a potato in Idaho. Idaho's famous for its potatoes. And also it's white supremacist, by the way. But taking that aside, Idaho has, wonderful potatoes. So this young woman with her mother, her 70-year-old mother, built a 3.5 ton humongous potato that you can go in Airbnb. But what makes it really special, apart from the fact they've got, like a hot tub and a sauna and stuff like that, so nice stuff to fool around with, they also have a mini cow on site called Dolly. And your job while you're there is to take, brush Dolly, etc. And people are so out of touch, urban people are so out of touch with nature that it's become like a thing, and it's one of the most popular Airbnbs on, in the United States, and it's called the Big Potato. And so my oldest son is actually an urban farmer in Australia, and he is an expert in raising chickens. So I was initially going to call it the Chicken Ranch until I realized, Woody, that there's a whorehouse in Nevada called the Chicken Ranch. So
I read about it.
Yeah, so I think Waterhole Ranch is a little bit better. So the idea would be, if you and Michelle bought it, think about that. If you built something similar on your site, and I think Ruben has his own ideas, but similar ideas, a group of like 60 people could come here, and that would be really very different on Airbnb. There's almost no place where large groups can come.
Yeah,
that's right. And I mean, it happens for weddings and
Yeah.
Also parents. Parents want the best for their kids, and a lot of them are realizing that the urban kids are not experiencing nature enough. So when you have chickens and a couple of goats and ducks there, and they have to feed them or whatever, people go crazy for that stuff. And Bruce, you may not want to do 1 week rentals, but my sister has a cabin in the woods, not on Lasqueti, right? But it's still it's more difficult to get to, takes longer to get to than Lasqueti, okay? And she rents it by the week. She did 2 and 3 nighters. She said enough of that. She rents it by the week at $395 a night.
How much?
Right? $395 a night.
Yeah.
It's a 3-bedroom cabin, right? Little wood stove, whatever. So
it's a fantastic.
May go weekly is fine, but you're right, with combining all these people for weddings, for corporate getaways.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Team building exercises,
family reunions, weddings.
Yeah. So Michael, one of the things I would say though is that obviously Woody and Ruben as well, they're younger than me and they have more energy. So I'm all in favor of the boys doing a weekly. I won't be following it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with the medium-term rentals. But I completely agree. Weekly rentals would be fantastic. The other thing to take into account, Woody, is the fact that Lasqueti has very moderate weather. So it's plus 25 in the summer, and it's anywhere from +4 to +7 in the winter. It doesn't get much snow, and 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees. It's not Florida weather. I get that. It's certainly not Mexico weather, but for Canadians, it is. That's really good.
Oh, it will even have a week in the middle of winter where it's 12 or 14 every day for the whole week.
Nice. So
yeah.
One of the things we talked about in the Ottawa marketplace, which is where we are, Bruce, the summer is 113 days. Or we call it the summer, but the season where.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is it on Lasqueti, more or less? Is it 365? Is it 200 days? Do you have a ballpark?
it depends on the person. If somebody's coming there for peace and tranquility, it's 365.
Okay.
If somebody's coming there because they want it 25 or 28 degrees, you've got that 120 days or whatever you want to call it. But the long shoulder here for those people. I mean, I've seen 35 bicyclists get on the ferry, and they manage to take them all every time. They put all the bikes up on the roof and whatever. They come over, and I've seen that happen, in March and April and what have you. So it really depends on where you're marketing. If it's a summer crowd, you've got 3 months. But if you start doing I mean, here's another twist about Lasqueti. I sleep 2 hours more a night on Lasqueti. My wife sleeps 3 hours more a night. You can't describe it. You go to bed and you just sleep so peacefully.
Michael,
And
what are the night skies like on the Skeety?
well, there's no, because it's off grid, nobody wastes a watt of electricity. Therefore, you're sitting there and you're stargazing, or whatever. There's no
Because
city lights.
one of the great experiences of my life was when I was probably 9 or 10 years of age, and I was canoe tripping in Algonquin Park, and of course that's 60 years ago, and there were no lights in the area. There was no urban pollution or light pollution from urban areas, none. And I remember, middle of the night, I wake up at 9 or 10, I have to go and pee. So I get out of the tent, me and my buddies were sharing a tent. There's probably 6 or 8 of us in a tent, we're all lying like that. And I go outside and I look up, and my jaw dropped. I was scared. I went, what the heck? You could see the Milky Way in all its glory. And I haven't seen it since.
Yeah, well, you'll see it on Lasqueti.
And I was thinking just now that'll be something that we might see. So anyway, on the screen here, Woody, is a type of modular home that I think I will buy. And this one is pretty big. It's almost 3,000 square feet, upper, lower, big garage. Bonus that's important here. I'm not sure whether these are from Bunky Life, but Michael tells me I have to be careful about you buying from Eastern suppliers because there are well, exactly why did you say I have to be careful, Michael?
It's really just the moisture, because believe me, in December, January, and February, it can rain.
Yeah.
It rains well, right? So I tell anybody, if you can buy cedar and buy it local, or cedar or fir, right? And then they last forever, right? But you put a pine shed here or whatever, it's just not gonna handle the moisture.
I think these are spruce. I don't know if spruce would last out there.
I don't know. I will ask. There is a guy who makes them out here out of spruce, and I'll ask him. I don't know how many years
I did check that.
it.
But this is bunkylife.com, and I love their bunkies. They're small, but they cost $9,500. They lowered the price by $500, and they ship them as a kit. And you don't need any particular expertise. As long as you've got a mallet, you can put them together. And they sleep 2 people in the queen size bed on the ground floor, and then they've got 2 up here where you can put the kids, for example. So you can sleep up to 4 people in each one of these little bunkies, and they cost $9,500. So I really like them, but I want to make sure that they're going to last. I don't want to buy something that 15 years from now you have to throw them out.
Yeah. And
okay,
just while you're on that, Bruce, just
sure.
so you know, the 2 places that do them here on the island are within a half an hour of the barge to go to Lasqueti. So you can buy them right here. There's almost no shipping, and away you go.
Yeah, I hear you. So I did find, by the way, I didn't realize until just now, Woody, I put the big potato in here. So this is Idaho, not quite as beautiful in some ways as Lasqueti, but here's the big potato, and here's their little spa. And you can see the corral here, and somewhere in here, I can't see it, but somewhere in here, that's where a dolly is. And I mean, that's a nothing business, but very, very, very successful. Anyway, there you go. Oh, and here's her story. Closer to home, how about the case of the woman who was making $13 per hour working odd jobs, including being a spokesperson for the Big Potato Tour? Now she grosses hundreds of thousands of dollars each year from her creative constructs, such as a potato-shaped tiny house southeast of Boise, which comes equipped with a Jersey cow, Dolly by name, who it is advertised will be your fuzzy pet for your stay. So there you go.
Excellent.
And this woman hand builds, she's got all these funky Airbnb. She's got one, she bought an old abandoned ranger station, you know, those very tall ranger stations that overlook a forest, you know, where the forest fire lookout is. She bought one of those and she converted it. So you got to go up like 200 feet or something like that to get it into this Airbnb. She did that with her 70-year-old mother. And then she did one on Hawaii, which was equally funky. I don't remember what it was, but she's quite the entrepreneur. But I do think that the other thing that you need to know is that this is a cooperative venture. So you and Michelle would own one share out of, I think there's 17 shares, and we have it's a co-op. Co-ops are very well known in Quebec. They're very well known in New York City. Not as well known in Ontario, but they're very common in British Columbia as well. So you would own a share, I would own a share, Ruben would own a share, but there'd be a few others. And at some point, we're going to have a meeting of all the owners, and we'll talk about how we're going to run the co-op.
Yeah, and a couple other things on co-ops, Bruce. The modern version of a co-op is called a condominium. Yeah. Right. The only difference is if it's a building in a city, then it's a condominium, and you own inside the walls. Here, your 10 acres, whatever. 10 acres is yours. And one of the benefits we do it too is taxes are under $200 a year for 10 acres, whereas they'd be over 2,000 if you did it separately.
Wow.
Right. And it's also private. We don't have to let anybody on the property that we don't want to, because it's all us. Oh, and by the way, Bruce, I just bought 2 geodesic greenhouse domes.
No way.
Yep, 4 meters in diameter, from a local place here building them, and working on. They've got some glamping versions as well that I'm going to check next week.
Fantastic. So anyway, I'm really excited about the one other thing you have to know, though, Woody and Michelle will have to know as well, is that because you own a share in a co-op, you can't put a mortgage on a share, right? So that's the bad news. The good news is that this might be, and I think for us it will be, one of the maybe the only development where I do not have any financing. And if you're thinking about any kind of an end of the world scenario, you know, Russia does something crazy, China does something crazy, North Korea does something crazy, Iran does something crazy, Mr. Trump does something even crazier. You know, the fact that there's no financing on it is a plus. So, you know, if I want to put financing, I'll put a mortgage on one of my other properties, but I think I'm going to build this with cash. And so if all hell breaks loose, and I'm definitely going to put the share in my wife's name. So if anything happens to me, you know, this would be the one place where her income could not be, you know, I don't trust lenders. I mean, and there's lots of reasons why you don't want to. You know, I mean, hopefully inflation is not going to be 8 or 9% for much longer. Hopefully it'll go back to 2 or 3%. But if it went to 80%, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I don't expect that, but we don't know. And the world has become a much more difficult place in so many ways. So if this, if you bought this and you developed something that was producing, you know, $100,000 or $150,000 a year in cash flow for you, and it was also, you know, like Airbnb, you know, maybe you're only booked 60 or 70% of the year, but so what? The rest of the time you and your family can use it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it you know, and you're right. It is not a summer year round. It's not Florida, but even Florida can get cold. But it's not Mexico. It's not Merida. You know, I like Merida, which is the capital of the Yucatan. And you know, in January it's 32 degrees Celsius, right? So it's warm year round. You're closer to the equator. That's not Lasqueti, but you know, who knows what will happen to air travel? Who knows what will happen to our climate? So I'm hoping that this will be in our family, you know, for the next 100 years.
Yeah, and look at it as Plan B. It's the backup plan. Plan B for BC, right? If things change and whatever, you head to BC and you've got everything you need right there.
It's just completely sustainable too, or self-sustainable.
Yeah, it's so nice never getting a power bill.
Oh man.
You know, you buy some panels and buy some batteries and buy an inverter, and it's simpler than it sounds, but once you get used to it, you either need more panels or more batteries, depending on what you need, right? And whatever. I see people with 40 cells and I see people with one, right, on their roof. And that's it.
So because there's no building permits required, and I love the fact that inspectors haven't been there in over 20 years or they've never seen them. That to me is just absolute music to my ears, because I'm not a believer in government intervention, trying to reduce the amount of interaction I have with them. That's a philosophy. So that's perfect. What about insurance? Because if the house does literally fall on your head, do insurance companies, do they sell that to people on the ski island?
Yeah, I have insurance on my cabin.
Okay.
Most people on Lasqueti don't bother. Another interesting thing is car insurance. If it's a remote Gulf island like Lasqueti, I have full insurance, comprehensive, theft, which is ridiculous because you don't need it, but you know, and liability and everything. And one car cost me $210 a year. What does the other one cost? Can't remember what the other one costs. You know, so it's you know, it's great that way. And because there's no permits, you can buy it today, you can build tomorrow. Done.
Yeah, I do think so. And it just you know, I love the idea when Michael first mentioned it to me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to become I guess part of the co-op. But my expectations were high, and when I went out there, they exceeded all of my expectations by quite a margin. Anyway, listen, Woody, there's no pressure on you. If you don't buy it, I'm not worried about Michael and the rest of the sites. They're going to sell. There's lots of Americans. You know, I don't have to tell you. I've got friends in the States, Michael, who say if Mr. Trump is reelected, you know, he runs for power, they gotta find a way out. Lasqueti is a good spot for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, but I do want to know, like, by the end of the week, if you're interested or not, because if not, I'm going to list it at the 325 and go, because somebody who wants the water, and you should send Woody the view from my deck, like the real view, because that's what you'll get from 15.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these are fantastic sites, and Woody, I mean, you have really impressed upon me, you and Michelle, that you know, you just don't want to continue. So you've got to find something that, you know, like if you do the numbers, like if you, Michelle, were willing to put up with, you know, weekly guests, and you had, you know, I mean, even just like we heard, a 3-bedroom home on site 15. What did you say was priced at for a week?
$395 I wrote.
$395 a night.
Well,
yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, that's crazy good.
I pulled my calculator out as soon as you said that. I'm like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
And remember too, if you have an on-site caretaker, it's not you having to deal with the people there, right? They check them in, pick them up at the ferry, deal with them that way.
Well,
you know, and you guys can all.
That's one of the things, Michael, that if Woody and Michelle buy site 15, that's one of the costs that I think the 3 properties will share, like 15, 16, and 17. Like if I have a retired couple living on my site, they can, you know, they can keep an eye on Woody's place. They can keep an eye on Ruben's place. When guests come, they can welcome them and show them how to, you know, how to use the place. So it doesn't mean that you have to be on site, Woody or Michelle, to welcome guests. So we're going to have somebody living there.
Yeah, and there's a guy already living on
I like him.
Island. Yeah,
What's his first name?
Dan. He's
Yeah, he's
50,
really cool.
and he used to be a property manager.
Yeah.
So he said, "Oh,
Oh,
sure, I'll do all that and
So,
whatever."
Woody, Dan's last name is Beer. Now, I
Oh.
cannot think of a better last name for somebody who's living on Lasqueti than Beer. So Dan Beer bought one of the sites from Michael. Michael's the developer, obviously, and he's already living there, I think.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah,
been there
so
for 2 months now. He's just loving it. I was with him on the weekend, and he's just
fantastic.
such a great guy, and he's a green builder too. So he's building his. He got a geodesic dome as well,
Yeah, I
so he's
saw
building
that. Yeah.
that for himself. Yeah.
Michael,
I
what
have a picture of it somewhere. What's that?
What Michael was referring to a geodome?
Yeah,
think I have a picture of
geodesic
it.
dome, like what Buckminster Fuller, came out with in the 40s or 50s, and I'll if you just Google geodesic dome,
I think I have a picture of it.
and they're great because they're funky. Like they're not as funky as a potato, but they are funky, and people will go just to stay in that, right? And they're inexpensive. You can get for under 20 grand. You can get a complete glamping dome with all the stuff, with a wood stove in it,
Yeah, yeah.
and the pipes out and everything.
Oh, thanks. That's very interesting to me.
Yep. And you can get some basic ones for $10,000, which is, I'd have half of your 6 temporary sites. I'd have half of them as just a little one there for a couple that comes, right? Done.
Excellent. Okay, so really appreciate this, Bruce and Mike. Mike, for sure, will get back to you by the end of the week, but I know we're being recorded here. I will share this and watch it with my wife, Michelle, again, but just by way of setting expectations, we are interested. So this is something that, unless something big goes bump in the night that we can't, I'll go on record now as saying this is something that we are interested in pursuing. So put whatever we need to put in place for the end of the week, and onward and upward.
Right. And while you think too, a nice thing about a share sale is there's no GST and there's no property tax.
Even
It's
better.
just a straight 225. That's it, and you pay a lawyer or notary $200 to witness your signature, and that's it. Like the Safe Island lawyer handles the entire transaction, transfers it to you, and that's it. It's done. It's
So
it's the easiest real estate transaction you'll ever do in your life.
So these are geodesic domes, Woody, that are priced around 7,000 Canadian dollars, and you can see people really like them.
Yeah,
They sure do. Yeah.
Oh, they're pretty cool, Michael.
that's awesome.
They've got that potato funky factor, right?
Yeah. It's got the wow factor. You're right. Yeah, that's something you can market so easily, especially to like the Vancouver, the British Columbia, granola eating, trail hiking kind of crowd. To me, that's just bang on. That really hits it.
Yeah, I like the price point too.
Kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Woody, I really appreciate you taking the time, and Michael, I mean it, Michael, I didn't do a particularly great job on it, but between the two of us, I think we covered all the bases. And we've got a recording now, so I'll send it to you both after we're finished. And I'm really excited about it. I think it would be great to have you and Michelle out there.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'll see you later.
All right. Excellent.
Thanks, Michael. Good
Bye,
meeting
guys.
you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thanks again, Bruce.